Thank you very much, Madam Chairwoman, and thank you to the witnesses for appearing here today. This is an issue that's a high priority for my constituents. And before I go into questions, I just wanted to say a few words about the economic arguments we're hearing today. I know that a lot of my fellow committee members have heard me rave about Oregon, and I do realize that in some ways we face different conditions from the conditions experienced by some of my colleagues. In Oregon, for example, we are currently phasing out our last coal-fired power plant. We have abundant hydroelectric power, and that means that the reduction target given to our state by the EPA is quite a bit different from targets given to states that rely on coal power for electricity. But I also want to say that Oregon's economy is uniquely reliant on natural resources, and hence our economy is threatened by the impacts of climate change. My constituents see the cost of inaction as startlingly high. We consider what might happen to our wine industry, for example, if global temperatures continue to rise, what's happening to our commercial fishing and shellfish industry as the ocean chemistry changes because of high levels of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. And so while the EPA's proposed rule is being analyzed by the State Departments of Environmental Quality, our utility sector, and others who will participate in its implementation, they are seeing forward progress on carbon reduction as welcome news in Oregon. And I know, Commissioner Cash, you spoke about RGGI. I just want to mention that our Pacific Coast Collaborative has worked on a Pacific Coast Action Plan on climate and energy, and that is a collaboration among not only states, the states of California, Oregon, and Washington, but also British Columbia to combat climate change. And our region is really becoming a center of innovation and investment in clean fuels and technologies. And I know, Mr. McConnell, you mentioned the importance of developing new technologies, attracting private capital for infrastructure. All of this is turning into jobs, as you, Dr. Cash, recognized was happening in Massachusetts. So even though, yes, Massachusetts is just one, as Mr. McConnell recognized, one state, when we look at the regional partnerships that are being implemented and moving forward, I think we see a lot of potential to have the same kind of results that they've seen in Massachusetts on a regional scale. So I wonder, Dr. Cash, could you talk a little bit? It was an interesting discussion about collaboration or the alleged lack thereof with the EPA. Can you recommend any improvements that could have been made to the outreach process, but also talk about whether your agency and others in the RGGI group were consulted during the development of the proposed rule?
Thank you very much. That's an excellent question, and I'm glad I have an opportunity to respond. I think in the development of the rule, there was actually a lot of outreach, and it wasn't just to states like Massachusetts. My understanding from talking to colleagues when I was a member of NARUC as a commissioner, a public utilities commissioner, was that the EPA reached out quite a bit all across the country, from the highest level, commissioner level, down to the staff level, that the inputs into models, into how they analyze this, was done with a lot of input from states, from other agencies as well. The Department of Energy, et cetera, was very engaged in this as well. So I think that kind of process was a very robust one and has continued to be a robust one. Since the rule was announced, the EPA has been holding meetings through all of their regions, and our staff has been in contact with the technical staff at EPA almost nonstop. So that outreach has definitely been there. In terms of the regional concern, I knew it might be addressed that Massachusetts is a small state. I get that. But part of what's happened in RGGI is that it hasn't been just our state. It hasn't just been the 1%. It's been all of the RGGI states. The New England states down to the Mid-Atlantic states, down to Maryland and Delaware have been part of this. And all across that region, which is a significant amount of population in the country, a significant amount of the energy use, a significant mix of different energy sources, we have seen reductions of 40%, while the regional economic advances by 7%. And we've seen this huge growth in the innovation sector of in all across these states. And it's actually not just these states. We see this throughout all of the United States.
Thank you, Dr. Cash. And in my remaining few seconds, I just want to mention that we have had many discussions about the development of technology in the committee and also in the Environment Subcommittee, on which I'm the ranking member. We've had hearings about this issue, and I want to point out that historically, if you look at the development of technology, there is a lot more incentive for the companies to develop technology and for investment in the development of technology when there is a requirement that the technology there is a demand for it. So when there is a requirement, then the technology is developed. If it's not required, there is not as much incentive for the development of that technology. So I yield back. Over time, I yield back. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman.